Well, good morning. It is 5:55 a.m. on the 27th of May. This is the video for the 28th of May. I'm not going to wait till it gets above 90. It's a cool 88.5 degrees. I chuckle. That's not very cool. But in any case, it's cooler than it will be at 5:55 this afternoon, and I don't want to wait till then. And I don't know if I'm going to do all my videos at 5:55. But for a while I might. Anyway, the title that I've selected for today's video is Love is the Only Way Home. The only way. Home is where the heart is, where truth is told, and where needs are met. As I look at the world and what is happening in my personal life, I am more convinced than ever that expanding our willingness and ability to love everyone is essential to the evolutionary leap we are called to make. My lady friend keeps telling me that polyamory, as she sees it, is not only about sex. It is about the highest of spiritual ideals. Many, even those who might label themselves as polyamorous, see it only as sexual liberation, which it is. But there is so much more. It's about healing. It's about going beyond the conditioning of limiting beliefs that have convinced us that lack is real, that love and other measures of wellness are somehow in short supply. It's only true if we believe it. Can we love enough to break the spell of the matrix and escape its prison of limitation? I am willing and committed to doing that as best I can. I don't want to get in the trap of only talking about my relationship and what might appear to some as the soap opera of my life in that regard. I want, whatever happens in our relationship, the details to remain private because it's supposed to be private. It's not something that I think needs to be shared with the world. But there are certain principles that do need to be shared with the world. Principles that come up. I mean, she and I, we don't have bad conversations, bad meetings. I mean, we enrich each other in a way that I've never experienced such enrichment before. Is it everything that I thought I wanted? Of course not. I thought I wanted a monogamous relationship with my twin flame. That the two of us could spend a lot of time together and co-create worlds with our sacred pleasures. The universe had a different thing in mind. And it's been challenging. There have been moments that it's been challenging, as I've wondered how it's going to work and what it's going to look like. And the truth of the matter is, I don't know the answer to either of those questions. And another truth of the matter is, I don't need to know. It's not about figuring it out and putting it in another box so I can feel comfortable and secure in another prison of my own mental construct. All of my life, like most of you, I have believed in limitations, that love is hard to find, it's hard to come by, that money is in short supply, and somehow there's never enough. Somehow never enough has been a guiding principle or a guiding subconscious thought behind all of my other thoughts. It's been the driving thought that there's not enough. There's not enough to go around. Folks, think about it for a second. Do you really believe the universe has limitations? Do you really believe that creation was meant to be limited? Do you really, truly, honestly believe that that's true? Do you really believe that energy is in short supply? Love is energy. Truth is energy. All of our emotions are energy. Everything, actually, is energy. We've been sold a bill of goods in our world that has imprisoned us, literally enslaved us, to ideas that just simply are not true. We have bought into the lie that there's not enough of this or that to go around. Now, I don't know if I could ever be totally free in my sexual expression of love. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. I don't know. I'm only exploring. And as I say those words, I wish almost that I could, that I had the poem, The Spirit of the Quester, in front of me. I don't. It's a poem that I wrote a long time ago. I don't even know if it's on my website, which, by the way, speaking of my website, it's on a new server now, and it used to be metagroups.info. Metagroups.info will be redirected to metagroups.co, C-O, not com, C-O alone. Metagroups.co, just so that you know that's been up for over a week now, maybe 2 weeks. But that is my new official web address, and it is on a different server than it used to be. In any case, I don't know if that poem is in my Ron's poems. And I encourage you to go there to my website and read some of the things I've written. That's how my lady friend discovered me. She discovered my website. She discovered and heard the cry of my heart. And it was her cry. Yes, she's walked a totally different pathway to get where she is now than I have walked to get where I am. And we each have contributions to make to the other. That's inevitable. But this I know, regardless of the fact that it did not come the way I would have anticipated. It surprised me. It took me by it surprised me by joy. It took me by surprise that a woman who is married would come to me and be willing not only to hear my heart, not only to see the deep-seated desire and the longing, to see the potential, but to be willing to love me and to show me that love doesn't have to be in boxes. It doesn't have to be limited. Now, I know that's a hard concept for a lot of people, and she tells me that she knows lots of people in what would be loosely termed a polyamorous community that are living a polyamorous lifestyle that do not see the bigger picture. They do not see the spiritual connection. They do not have the high ideals. It is just about experiencing sacred pleasure or pleasure, sexual pleasure. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. But what she's saying is she sees it so much more. So much more. It's about being willing to love beyond the comfort zone. Being willing to love those that aren't necessarily as attractive as others, and seeing the beauty anyway. And seeing the need, and seeing hearing the cry of the heart. Heart cries. We all have them. What does your heart cry for? Is it crying because you've bought into the limitations of the matrix, the limiting beliefs that says love is limited, money is limited, good is limited, that everything has to come through pain and suffering, nothing can come through pleasure. You've got to bite the bullet, pay the price. Do you buy all that? I've bought it. Even when I didn't consciously embrace it, I was unconsciously driven by that belief, or that series or system of beliefs, that I was somehow never going to quite be good enough, Somehow I was never going to experience that which would make me happy and liberate me from the longings of expectations and the inevitable disappointments that follow in unmet expectations. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it. I wrote about it. I've written about it way back in the 80s. I started seeing it. Maybe even earlier than that. Maybe even earlier than that. I started seeing it. I was all alone, no friend by me. First adult poem, 1977. I was all alone, no friend by me, tossed and troubled on life's cruel sea. I wanted to run, but where could I go? I couldn't escape from myself, I know. Flee, yes, flee, I'll follow the sun, but where could I go? Where could I run? Wherever I'd go, I'd still have me, tossed and troubled on life's cruel sea. Longings, frustrations, and so much despair. I cried out, oh God, does anyone care? When we finally learn to really care, when we finally learn to love, even when it's uncomfortable, just because we're willing to share that which is in unlimited supply, and not only in unlimited supply, but it's the very nature of who we are. We are gods and goddesses. We are created lovers. We are created to express freely the love and the life force energy of which we are made, in which we live and move and have our being. That energy of total pleasure, not total pain. We've chosen the pain because we've chosen to believe the limited beliefs of the lie. We've chosen to imprison ourselves. We can't blame it on the Illuminati. We can't blame it on archons or devils or demons. We can't blame it on Lucifer, because we've embraced the ideas as if they were our own. We've experienced the pain of those beliefs. Our heart cries have gone unanswered, unheard. Our prayers have risen up and not seemed to bring us fulfillment. Admit it to yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. But recognize that we've experienced this because that's what we believed we were going to experience. And life and creation has simply molded itself to our own expectations, to what we believed was true. We need to change our mind. We need to open our hearts. If we're going to find our way home, if we're going to find our way back to wholeness, back to fulfillment, back to peace, back to joy, back to love, we're going to have to give ourselves the grace that it's going to take to make the journey from where we've been to where we're going. And the only way we can do that is to be here now, and to recognize right now what's going on inside of you, whether it's thoughts or feelings. It doesn't matter. Recognize where you are, and don't let the programming keep making you repeat and recycle the same old lie. There is enough love for everyone to be joyous, for everyone to be fulfilled. If only we would share the love and not think that we own the people that we're sharing it with. We own no one. If we own anyone, it can only ever be our own self. And in a sense, we don't even own that. That belongs to the whole of creation. It belongs as part of an interconnected web of life. I'm struggling myself to take off the chains, to let the shackles fall to the ground that have limited me for so much of my life. And I really believe that my life is now at the place where there's an antidromia going on, a reverse flow of energy, where everything that I've ever written about, every vision that I've ever had, every dream that I had, is now mine for the claiming, to fulfill the purpose for that dream, to let that flame that was only just a small pilot light, just barely flickering within inside of me, to let that flame burst forth and consume all of the false ideas, all of the shadow elements that have contributed to the experience of being a slave to ideas that were not true. To let that be transformed, to let that radically move in my life and in my world, to make me the man that I was created to be, the man that I have seen in some of my poetry, the man that I have written about, the man that has been calling to me. It's a man, yes. It's also a little boy. It's also a divine being. It's a prince. It's a priest. It's many roles and many things. And they're all me, because I am a multifaceted child of the living God. One who is made to shine with light that cannot be extinguished, and to love that can never be limited. I don't offer, she said to me, unconditional love. I offer you love without limits. Now, are there limits? Depends on how you frame it. Whenever we're together, there can be unlimited love, if I'm willing to accept it, if I'm willing to go where I've never gone before. So I ask you in closing, are you willing to stretch your own comfort zone and go where you've never gone before? Are you willing to embrace the possibility that maybe, just maybe, everything you've ever thought was true isn't? Are you willing to consider the possibility that you can have whatever you truly desire? And that it's not up to someone else, it's up to you. Are you willing to become whole again for the first time, and to experience it in a physical form, not just a spiritual, energetic form, but to ground it here and now in 3 dimensions? And when we do that, those 3 dimensions expand into greater dimensions, just simply because you've opened your mind and your heart. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to make the commitment with me to become the best you can be, and to learn how to love the way it's possible to love, love that brings us home, because it's the only way home. Thank you for listening. May God bless you. Namaste.